What is going on, YouTube? AlphonZeus of Team Gradelock here with another episode of Unlocking Your Week, episode 85. We're going to be starting off with the local results that happened for Cardfight Vanguard. Unfortunately, we didn't have a buddy fight event this weekend, but if anyone knows if it took place at Game On or Time Warp or other locals, feel free to comment down below and see how the New Jersey trading card game scene is growing. So, after I go over the local results, I'll give a little bit of a video content preview for this week. It will have deck profile and the match. I'm going to try and really make sure I can put up both, if not at least one per week. And then after that, we'll conclude the episode with breaking down the latest Cardfight Vanguard episode, which will be G turn 15 or Ride to 11. So stay tuned for that. Now, let's get right into the local results. I wasn't there really much for Friday's tournament. I did know that there was a Cardfight Vanguard tournament that took place on Friday. So if you were there, please feel free to comment down below because unfortunately, nobody on the team actually got back to me as to what were the results of said tournament. So, we moved into Saturday's tournament, which pretty much was an interesting one. I saw a lot more new people than I thought. I was sick the last week, so I wasn't really able to get much of a feel of like how the tournament went. But for what we knew so far, there were 14 people, so that equates to 4 rounds of Swiss with a top 4 cut, and then you get the prize support from there. It was a pretty decent tournament. Pretty much we've been getting anywhere from like 12 to 16. Sometimes we hit 17, which is good because that means 4 rounds of Swiss with a top 8 playoff to the top 4 cut. So, of course, more players, more prize support. So, I went in again, second time, with the Neo Nectar Musketeers Dual Legion with both Vera and Martina on deck. So, I can at least give you a breakdown of what exactly happened in each of the 4 rounds that I played in. First round, I played against Rob from Team Dark Matter. He was playing the duos of Bermuda Triangle, and pretty much resulted in just who got their triggers. We both got strategies off, and pretty much we want to try and stay away from the limit break status, at least for me, because I never wanted him hit that break right until I knew I can go in and swing for game, or at least get enough cards out of his hand that it seems like he can't use the restand skill for rate because you need 2 cards of the same name. And going into that match, duos are always really a nightmare to deal with. It's very hard to see how you can control the game. If anything, you're going to need those crit triggers when they come in handy most, because hitting the crit trigger and they get to 4 damage before before they even go into ride their break ride is actually pretty advantageous in your favor, and they'll pretty much help guard a lot more. And the thing is that once you head into game 3, it really came down to his break ride turn, rate over Mir. And I was at 4 damage, and the thing is though, he ended up attacking the Vanguard with his rear guards because you're going to do the restand as well as, call people back to superior call a column. And luckily for me, I think it was a critical trigger on the 5th damage, and that literally set the bar of just saying, alright, easier for me to guard with. I don't have to worry about taking, that 6 damage because I had Quintet Walls, I had other cards in order to guard with. And what I definitely realized with running Musketeers is that your turns can probably take at least 3 to 5 minutes. And you see your opponent kind of chuckle, but the thing is, it's kind of, oh my goodness. It's like, I just want to make sure I can build the perfect field. It kind of sucks, really, when you go into the stand trigger, Ernest, and then you go in, you see another Ernest. So it's just all, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? What am I doing? Because I'm like, Ernest, Sylvia to Sylvia, and then like, Rebecca, retire, call top 4. It's mind-boggling in a way. It pretty much reminds me of Quasar in just the Super Synchro Turbo build, where people can literally take around and say like, okay, do you have Max C? Okay, no? Alright, boom, I'm going to keep doing this. And just wait until I get into Quasar, or I wait until I get the perfect field, where I literally have my whole columns supported by Mirka, which means you get 9k, and then once you Legion up, they all boost for 12, which is pretty insane. So, I managed to win that game because after that I was able to do Vera with a full column ready to go in with hitting numbers like 24 to 27. 27 is probably my best column because it goes in with a 12k attacker. 12k attacker, you go 15, that's Gusto, and then with Mirka, that's 12k, so that's pretty much 27k right there. At the lowest, you get, maybe the 9k, I guess, one of the Legion mates, and then you have, Mirka behind that, or even the another 7k, and you end up boosting for 22. So 22k as your lowest and 27k as your highest. And of course, it can't really hit the cross rides that much, but thankfully we don't have many cross ride legions outside, of course, of Big Bang Knuckle Buster. But back to the whole round analysis thing. I took it in round 1. Round 2, I went up against John and the Spike Brothers Ogle Break Ride Legion. It's all Ogle now. It's pretty much who could pump out more numbers faster. And the thing is, I was trying to get him on like the critical damage, but the thing is though, in game 3, in game 1 I was Gradelock. Game 2, he managed to hit the double crit on me, and then game 3, it was more of, okay, can I outlast this? I need that trigger on the 5th damage if I want to survive this break ride turn. And unfortunately, I didn't get it, so I had to bank on getting the heal trigger in order to get out of it, and I didn't get it. So I lost round 2. Round 3, I went up against, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the name, but he actually ran kind of an interesting build. It was actually Bowing Sword Reverse. Yes, this is the reverse unit that premiered all the way back in like set 12, set 13, I think. And pretty much against Musketeers, it actually gave me more reason to keep Martina in the deck, because I was able to recover Martina quite well. And even with Vera, I can be able to like superior call, superior call, superior call. Like, I'm not stalling, I'm just activating the unit's effects to try and build a perfect field and try and at least conserve my hand so I can be able to guard quite well, or at least have my rear guards take some attacks so I don't have to worry too much about, you know, guarding that. And I won pretty well in 2 games. And the thing is though, what I did notice was that he actually, you know, would try to retire as many of my rear guards as possible. And the thing is though, he didn't have much of a hand either, because he had to call out his rear guards to lock. And the thing is though, he actually ended up going into that Eradicator unit, the one that premiered in Finals Collection 2014. This is a unit where you pretty much discard like 3 cards from your hand, counterblast 2, retire all the rear guards, and you get like this massive bonus of just like +2 critical and like 10k power. And the thing is though, I had a perfect guard, thank goodness, because I didn't really want to deal with that. But thankfully I did, and you know, I managed to win round 3. Round 4, I went up against Jason and the Deleter deck. Yes, this is the Deleters that have been running amok in the format, at least at Game On, at our local, for quite some time now. And they've been doing quite well. And I knew it was going to be pretty hard, but thankfully, I guess Vera, at least, she's not that affected by the leaders, because I can just rewrite into Vera Legion again and get her skill back. Martina, maybe I'll have to do a rewrite, but thankfully, each time that he deleted my Vanguard, I was managed to keep riding back and make sure I can recover in time. Also, in those games, I was hitting more triggers than he was. And the thing is, though, even though he did get 6 damage heals, I was able to kind of like overwhelm him even more with that. Because the thing is though, he didn't have many boosters for his units as well. He had a full front row, but no boosters to do, so it's really 5k drops. Or at least he'll attack my rear guards to try and like, you know, eliminate that presence. So I run round 4. So moving into the top 4, first place was Alex with Thingsaver Dragon of the Seekers. The reason why Alex got first place was that in the final round, both him and Joe L were undefeated. And the thing is, though, Joe actually had to go help his girlfriend out, move out, so he ended up pretty much dropping that round to Alex. So Alex got first place in that tournament. But congrats to him. Thingsaver Dragon is a menace, and seeing that deck take Worlds is pretty darn interesting. And then next up, we had Joe L with the Abyss Revengers of Shadow Paladin. It's good to see him being very consistent with topping almost every single week for the past month or so. And then next up, I managed to make it into third place, I think, with the Neonectar Musketeers. And it's pretty cool, okay? So I managed to top once on my second try, and okay, let's see how we keep the ball rolling. And then finally, rounding out the top 4 was John with his Spike Brothers. It's all Ogle now Break Ride Legion. So it's good to see Team Gradelock take up all the top 4 spots at the Cardfight Vanguard tournament on Saturday. So let's see how consistent we can keep this up for the next couple weeks, especially leading up to the G format, where pretty much every deck that's not getting the Stride unit will be picking up the Harmonics Messiah, pretty much just to at least have that triple drive check. And the thing is, though, it's true, because every other clan is going to need a Stride unit, especially with the upcoming events such as the Bushi Road Spring Festival. So that's going to be very interesting. So after that, we were trying to have a buddy fight tournament, and it didn't really work out. I'm sorry if you hear some background noise. Grammys and the After the Walking Dead kind of premiered there. So going into, I guess, Buddy Fight, we actually managed to record a deck profile. We'll just kind of move into the video content preview for this week. We will be doing the deck profile on Alex's Thing Saber Dragon deck, and we're going to also try and do a Buddy Fight deck profile too. It's going to be pretty much a whole deck analysis, theory, review with Dex. He's one of our best Buddy Fight players that shows up at the local pretty much every weekend, hoping to have a Buddy Fight tournament, and if not, he pretty much play tests with other people. And he has his own theory on making a Dragon World deck that, of course, doesn't have the impacts. It revolves around the Super Dragons, size 3 monsters. So that you can look forward to that hopefully by the end of the week. It's a pretty long video, so I'm going to try and cut it in and make it at least concise and as kind of polished as possible. And then pretty much 2 deck profiles of the match. And of course, this Thursday we're going to be doing another vlog. This time we're going to see how OTT will be impacted in the G set, the G booster set Generation Stride, and seeing into Battle Sisters as well as Magus, which are the top 2 clans in OTT in terms of sub archetypes. We get to see how the G series will help them out quite a bit. So we have that to look forward to. And I think that's going to be good. I really look forward to seeing how the Battle Sisters deck can come together, how the Magus deck can come together, and I might end up building Battle Sisters in a way, because I do have a plethora of the Battle Sister Legion from getting all of those boxes of Set 17 version E. So that's it for the video content preview. Now we get to go into the conclusion of our episode, which will be the breakdown / review of Ride 211 or G turn 15. And this one has been extremely interesting. And spoiler it, you haven't seen the episode yet, please pause and close the video. Go watch that episode, come back right here so we can talk about it. If not, you can close out the video and be on your merry way. But if you choose to stay, it will be quite a ride. So Ride 211 or G turn 15, the Maxed Ghost. We get to see a new character pop up from Xian's past, and this rivalry, at least between him and the new character, seem to have gotten a lot more serious than with his rivalry with Chrono. So moving into the very first scene that we see, you get to see somebody that pretty much looks like Phantom of the Opera, minus the eye marks, which means that, you know, I can throw that theory out the window. But he takes the avatar of a young card fighter, and it's really sad to see somebody that at least looks much older than he is just take some kid's favorite card and just kidnap it like that. It's pretty sadistic. I don't really like that at all. And then the thing is, though, we only get a glimpse of it as we get to see Xian being driven by his butler to go to what appears to be a fancy schmancy party. He has a really nice tux with a cool bow tie on it. So when he even goes to the party, he's very gentlemanlike. He's really carrying his family name with honor. He's greeting with people that are decades older than him. He shows a lot of good decor and very well mannered. So by the time he's introduced and he's used to the whole atmosphere, he gets to see that familiar face from a long time ago. In this case, it is Yuya Karasumori, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This guy, just seeing the screenshot of the guy, it seems like this guy is a sly trickster like Loki, but he does look like Tano from Legend of Korra. I will compare every character that has that squiggly hairstyle in front of their forehead like Tano, because he was definitely the one that stuck out in my mind the most. So even his eyes, though, that he gives off a really off-put feeling that I'm not sure if I'm going to like this guy. So at the time they go outside on the balcony, just catch up on old times, they talk about fencing, they talk about what Xian's up to, which he says he's still playing Vanguard. And so Xian ends up getting into a pseudo fencing match with roses that look like they have a lot of thorns on them. So I'm surprised they didn't prick their hands, but they've probably been playing. They probably have been fencing for quite some time. And so the thing is, after that little encounter, we get to see Xian stop by Card Capital, where the kids are talking about this Max Ghost that will take the avatar away from them if they lose against it. So even Kamui would hear much about it that, of course, yeah, you lose the fight, you lose your avatar. And that's a really big blow, because in Cardfight Vanguard, it's all about imagining it and picturing your avatar right there with you. And so The thing is, though, after kind of dismissing that or just, a bit curious about the whole phenomenon that's been recently occurring, we get to see a run-in with a previous character, Ryota. This is the same character that Shion helped out during the Dragon Empire Nation party that took place outdoors. And this small reunion is actually pretty cool, so they exchange numbers, and it's pretty cool. But after that, we get to see him show up at the fencing meet. And as he's pretty much like getting ready or wanting to fence it out, we get to see Yuya Karasumari make an appearance there. And the kids, they're all ecstatic because they know who this guy is, and he's apparently a pretty good fencer. And so they get into a fight, and of course, the guy is saying the French of, it's vos prets or something. My French is completely horrible. Anyways, after that fight, or that scrimmage match, and to see him talk more on the bench, and I was about to call him Tano too. We get to see Yuya actually question Shion about, hey, do you actually still play that card game? The thing is, though, we get to learn a little bit more about Yuya's character and how he can be very, I guess, elite in his thinking, and it can be a little bit of an ego inflator. And Kiba, or Shion, he would actually bring up how, even though they live in the same world, the world you see is a completely different one. And this can have definitely set up for the main climax in this episode. So the thing is, though, as they finish up the conversation, the coach comes over to Shion and said, hey, your name was chosen to be a candidate for training to be a professional fencer. And that is a major honor for somebody so young like Shion. So see him all hyped up for this one. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to be excited. It's going to be all good tomorrow. I'm going to win it. I'm going to go and be a professional fencer, and it's going to be awesome. However, on his way home, he gets a phone call from Ryota telling him the exact address of where the last time the masked ghost was at. And the thing is, though, by the time we get to see him pull over at that spot where we see the alleyway of somebody about to give up their avatar, we see the masked ghost end up noticing the butler, and Shion ends up booking it. And then we see Shion pull up some crazy bad boys too, just jumping over the car. And damn, that fencing really helps out. So they go into this little chase. They're trying to figure out, Shion's trying to hunt this guy down. This guy is so brave, because the thing is, though, this masked ghost guy, this guy could have had a gun, he could have had a knife, but dear God, thank God. Thank God this is Cardfight Vanguard, right? Because usually people wouldn't be running into a dark alley with what looks like to be a masked killer. So by the time they get into this little script, I guess this little match where they try and out-footsie each other, like in a fighting game, they end up getting to this wild chase. At the end of it all, when we get to see the streets, we get to see the masked ghost actually try and just flip his cape around. Shion tries to protect because he doesn't want to get whacked by the cape, apparently, and he's gone. He disappears. So when he pretty much reports to Ryota the next day, he kind of says, I'm sorry, I couldn't find him. And Ryota's disappointed, too, because he just told him the exact location. And the thing is, though, Shion really had no excuse. But the thing is, though, it was all because he just wanted to, I guess, get away so much. He would literally try and hurt Shion in order to do that. And Shion would really get on his, I guess his nerves, really. I'm sorry. But the thing is, the one phrase that Ryota actually brought up was Edogawa Ward. And that's the phrase that he heard. He even said it quite a few times. So by the time we get to see how Shion would kind of bring up, well, I'd love to go searching again, but the thing is, though, I have a duty to attend to. I have a tryout to become a professional fencer. And, of course, Ryota says, is it more important than Vanguard? And he says, well, it's just as important. And I like his priorities, too, because it is just a card game after all. But in their world, it could be more like a career. So, as Shion would show up to this tryout, he sees the guy. The guy looks like a veteran, an old man that pretty much, I guess, he would know almost everything about fencing. And the thing is, though, by the time he's sitting in on the match, he ends up thinking back to the phrase that Ryota said, Edogawa Ward. And the thing is, though, as he's sitting down, he hears the ref calling the match, and he says, "It's vos prets." And the thing is, though, apparently it does sound like Edogawa Ward. And then Shion has the light bulb in his head telling him the masked ghost is actually really Yuya. So the thing is, as he makes this realization, he's saying, all right, I'm going to confront him next time. It's all going to be good. And then gets a random text message saying, this is Ryota's friend. He's in a card fight with the masked ghost. And he immediately gets ready. He's like, I have to go. And the coach is like, where are you going? Hey, the the rep is here. He wants to see you. And the thing is, though, by the time we get to the scene where we see the masked ghost, he already won against Ryota. See that he won in a very scrubby way. And as he took the avatar, he says, like, whoa, this is your avatar? It's useless, just like you. He throws it on the ground. That's really a lot of disrespect right there. This guy, oh my goodness. And you think stealing an avatar is worth this? The guy says, I don't find any value in this card. This guy is not a money card. Throws it on the ground. Ryota just cries as he tries to get his Wild Rush Dragon back. The thing is, oh, well, hey, if you want it back, you better get on your hands and knees and beg for that card back. And the thing is, though, we get to see Shion come in to try and save the day. And he tries to make a bargain, or at least a challenge to the masked ghost, saying, all right, if I win, you give back everybody their avatar. Everybody that you ever took from, you're going to give them back. And so he lays down that ultimatum, but he comes back, the masked ghost that is, he comes back with a counter offer. All right, fight me, but that's a lot of cards I have to return. So you know what? Play your deck with 12 less triggers. And that completely removes the fun aspect out of it. And it's really, really bad that, unfortunately, something like this has to happen. Alright. The thing is, he even lays it out, as Ryota would say, that's not fair. What are you doing? He only has 4 triggers in his deck and you still get to keep your 16? The thing is, though, he says the prize, and that prize is, if he wins, he takes back all 12 cards. That's why, 12 triggers. So, approaching this fight, it's a bit of a handicap. Well, let's just say it's a lot of it. It's a big, big handicap. So as you even start out, since the masked ghost went first, Shion has the advantage of making the first attack. So he ends up saying, alright, I'm thinking like him right now, saying, alright, if I have 4 less triggers in my deck, I better like try and fish out as many cards as possible from his hand. So he takes a grade 1 rush, which you see seems like it's going to be the 8k vanilla in the front, boosted by the 5k starter. Then we get to see, I guess what looks like to be a 6k that if he attacks, if you have a secret, I guess, you get to add 3, so he attacks for 9. And then you have another random K, 7k, that's on the field trying to eliminate, or at least cards from the hand, or just deal a lot of damage. And by the time we get to this point, Kiba's already filled up. Shion would literally go to him and say, you know what, take off the mask already, Yuya. I already know who you are. And Yuya, he's kind of a bit surprised that, oh, you do know me, and how long have you known? So as he reveals it, we get to see this is getting a whole lot more serious than possible. And Ryota is just kind of flabbergasted that it's like, oh my god, ooh, that's him? And then the thing is, we get to see the true plan, the true mastermind behind Yuya's plan, which happened to be, you know what? I did this. I was the one who sent this text message because I wanted you to miss out your tryout. Because the thing is, though, Yuya was there when Shion had the announcement. Well, Shion received his word that somebody would come in for a tryout to be a professional. So I guess Yuya got jealous and he just said, you know what? I'm going to screw you up since I didn't get that shot. The thing is, though, I have never seen Yuya at one of Shion's, I guess, fencing meets. So it seemed a bit unjustified that he goes in and it's like, oh, I wasn't called this one day, and I'm the best. I'm the best in the world. So he reveals his true intention about Cardfight Vanguard. He says how he wants to overwhelm the opponent with pretty much force your opponent to yield with overwhelming power, is what I meant to say. And he sees it as so sadistic in a way, because he is part of one of the elite societies. I mean, society's elite. God, it's getting late here. Anyways, he says that it's so fun about Vanguard, that he gets to pretty much tower over and gets such an ego inflated by defeating other card fighters, which makes him think that they're pretty much he's better than them. And the thing is, though, he ends up letting Shion know how much he wanted to become, how he wanted to know more about Vanguard. And the thing is, because he wanted that, he took it to the point where he would literally terrorize all these little kids, and these little kids are now afraid of Cardfight now, because it's just like it's a legend, and you never want to access the Cardfight from the Masked Ghost. So as they go into the Stride and Legion, because the thing is, though, this fight, this is Gold Paladins versus World Paladins. I honestly thought, with the way that Yuya was using the Gold Paladin deck, I thought he would be going with the Special Duke Revival Legion, because that guy was the bad guy of Gold Paladins, as well as the English format for quite some time. And so as he goes in and he deals damage, we get to see a critical trigger being damage checked. And then you can tell you already lost his mind in that. It's like, whoa, only 4 precious triggers, you're gonna waste one of them here? And it's like, well, you can't really waste a trigger. If it goes off, it goes off. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If anything, you still get the 5k boost from that trigger. But still, by the time we get to see him damage check the critical trigger, and then once comes Shion's turn, he draws a heal trigger. And then Yuya is already so fed up with just, oh wow, okay, I have this is free, I'm just gonna win this, I'm gonna take his avatar, and I'm gonna be, it's like a revenge complete type of thing. As he announces that, then he realizes that this is me training to become a ruler. He wants to be the best Cardfight Vanguard player because he wants to rule over everyone else. He believes everyone is a commoner, and he believes he has a duty to test these commoners on their skill. And the thing is, though, Shion, he is acting like the White Knight. That means you'll never be able to beat me, and he goes into Stride Generation. He goes into a pretty interesting one where it's the unit that when you stride, you burn a damage. And you do a damage check. That's actually pretty good because you get to get rid of any chances of, attacking and only getting a 5th damage trigger, which means your rear guard attacks are going to be pretty easy to block. And seeing how the drive check of his stride unit went is the driest check in the world, and Yuya is already getting this all over big. He's going to win this, apparently. So, at the time, Ryota is so disappointed that he might see his role model lose his avatar as well. He ends up, okay, it's like he's calling final turn, but he's not saying final turn. So, by the time we get to see this crazy offense from the Legion, and seeing the critical trigger stack up and all the numbers, somehow, Shion manages to block everything. And Ryota is amazed. And the thing is, though, in real life, you don't really see people getting that hype over it, although I can attest it's sometimes it can be quite hype to just yell out or something like that because of the shenanigans that can happen in Cardfight Vanguard. The thing is, though, Yuya already announced that he had no cards left in his hand. And the thing is, though, so that means pretty much Shion had to rely on a top deck discard in order to stride yet again. The thing is, though, unless there's a grade 4 Royal Paladin in the main deck that I'm not familiar with, Shion shouldn't be able to do that. And that's what turns me off about the anime sometimes, how they just forgo some of the rulings in order to just tell the story. And I don't know, it seems like false advertising in a way. But anyways, he goes into stride, and we see the stride. It looks like he's just putting down a grade 1 unit, but then I realized, oh, that's a grade 4. Okay, so he ends up going all in on it. And he drops in 41k shield to his 31 attack, or 32 attack. The thing is, he had to rely on double triggers to win it, because he was already at 4 damage or so. Seeing a crit trigger, and then another crit trigger. What also threw me off about this was not only because I don't know how the hell he paid for the stride cost, but he literally gave all effects of the triggers. So he just drove check everything, and then after that last drive check, he then assigned the crit and power. So that's even worse, because then it's like, oh man, why would you do that? It's not how Cardfight Vanguard goes. It's not how the casino goes. You can't just, play the slots and then just say, alright, the 7 goes here, the 7 goes here, the 7 goes here, I hit jackpot. But back to the story. We get to see him go in full sack mode when he drive check a double crit off of the triple drive check. And the first being a dead card in his hand. And Yuya is just completely shocked and amazed that he actually got not 1, but 2 critical triggers. And shout out to Epona, seeing the old school crit trigger come back is actually pretty cool. And then Yuya is just so flabbergasted, just saying, you drew 2 critical triggers? I'm like, hey man, you said you want to take out triggers? I could take out triggers. It seems that Shion had this from the very beginning. It's like he knew that there was a double crit left in the deck, and he somehow manages to get it. And I'm still amazed how to see him just drive check everything and then assign all effects. Because if that was the case, Vanguard would be a completely different game, especially when you're guarding. To the pass is now even scary because now you just wait till your last drive check and then you get to assign to whomever you want. You don't have to worry about sacking or taking a gamble when you literally have, okay, these are my drive checks. I can just go in. I have double crit. You have a 41k shield that says 2 to pass. I'm going to send all the Vanguard and I'm going to win. And despite him winning and returning all of the avatars back to their normal state, We get to see him gear up for fencing yet again with help from his butler. As I can't believe you missed out on this practice. You could have been a professional fencer. Thing is though, Shion, he never regretted one bit. And I like him for that. Because he is not afraid to say, you know what, I missed out on an opportunity, but it was worth it. I helped out my friend. I helped out, a kid that looked up to me. And I pretty much said in your face to the freaking rival of Yuya. And we end the episode there. I am pretty happy that this episode really had a lot of ups and downs and craziness added to it. Of course, the villain, it was pretty much obvious from the get-go when they said the Edogawa Award, and then you link it together with what the referee said at the meet. So, this episode, I did like it. Seeing a chronoless episode was actually pretty interesting because we get to see more of Shion and how he deals with his stuff. So I give him all the credit in the world. If you like this episode and if I missed out on anything, feel free to comment down below as well because I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially on stuff that I missed out on so we can get a conversation started. And that is it for me. My name is AlphonZeus. I hope that you've enjoyed the week that I've unlocked for you, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.